we're going to go ahead and get started. There might be a few more people hopping on, and we will let Kyle Coyers will continue to admit folks into the space. Hopefully everybody can hear me, and hopefully you can see the PowerPoint as that will sort of be our virtual agenda. Thank you so much for joining us today at our community gathering. While we're being socially distanced, we're trying to be together virtually. For those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm Kevin McIntosh. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm the coordinator of Campus Interfaith Resources within the Division of Inclusion and Equity. First off, I hope you and all those that you care about are staying safe and healthy during these difficult times. A couple of few housekeeping things as we start today. You'll notice you are muted and that you cannot mute yourself. This is so our attention stays on the speakers. We don't get distracted by any background sounds. Also, I'm gonna ask everybody to turn off their video besides our speakers. I'm unsure if this is true or not, but I've heard that having only one speaker use their video allows for a smoother process as we go through this. Lastly, this is being recorded right now so we can share it with others who aren't able to join tonight. Ibu Patel, the president and founder of the Interfaith Youth Corps, tweeted at the start of this pandemic that this is a time to remember the deep wisdom of religious traditions. They have required rituals for physical gathering and also mystical notions about the spiritual power of imagined community. This tweet made the Campus Interfaith Resources team think about how we could pull together our community and think about our own religious, spiritual traditions and what brings us, and what reminds us of community. Today, we'll be hearing from 6 religious and spiritual traditions: Isabella Lieberman, Vishnu and Krishna Yamato, Luke Bassett, Kim Hilbrand, Ben Scott Brandt, Mirza Komek, and Mirza Komek. As we start, we want to express our deep gratitude for those essential workers, for those on campus, keeping Grand Valley clean and safe, who transitioned us very quickly to remote learning, and those who are allowing many of us to work from home. Thank you. And for those in other essential businesses, those in the medical fields, those in grocery stores, those delivering mail or other packages, and many, many more, thank you. Our first speaker today is going to be Bella Lieberman, who is a student at Grand Valley and a member of Hillel.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that I could be a part of this and help figure out how to deal with this confusing time for myself, but also hopefully my community that I've really loved so far the past 2 years at Grand Valley. When I was thinking about a prayer from my tradition that I wanted to share with you all, this one came to mind pretty quickly because at my home synagogue, we always end our times together with this prayer. And it's really interesting to me because the second word is shalom, which we translate into English as loosely as peace, but it also means so much more than that, and there's no direct translation. So it also means harmony, contentment, happiness, all these things that I really want my community to have right now and that we might not necessarily have because it's a really confusing, concerning, troubling time for many people, I feel, especially myself. So the prayer goes like this. Osei shalom bimromav, huya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the creator of peace and harmony in the universe create peace in our world as well, peace for us, peace for all of Israel, peace for all people, and peace for all peoples. Amen. Next, we go to Vishnu and Krishna.
Namaste. Good evening, everyone. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy. My name is Vishnu Mano, and I am a freshman at Forest Hills Eastern High School. Thank you for taking your time with us to be with us virtually. Hinduism is a religion with over 33 million deities. In the Hindu culture, a god or goddess comes down to earth in the form of a living being, known as an avatar. Lord Dhanvantari is one such avatar of the protector Vishnu, Dhanvantari is the Hindu god of medicine, so it's common practice in Hinduism to pray to Dhanvantari when seeking good health and looking for hope. I'll be reciting a prayer in Sanskrit, asking for hope during these times of uncertainty and suffering. Asatoma satgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya, om shanti 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 hai. This prayer means, lead me from falsehood to truth, lead me from darkness to light, lead me from death to eternity, may there be peace. It asks for the courage to face reality, for humanity to join as one, and for there to be peace on earth. During these unprecedented times, a ray of hope is what we all need. I recently heard a story about a retired farmer in northeastern Kansas. He had 5 industrial masks. His wife only has 1 lung due to medical complications, and she also has diabetes, which puts her at high risk if she contracts the virus. He kept 4 masks for his immediate family, and instead of hoarding the last mask, he mailed it to Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York. He wanted that 1 mask to be used by a doctor or a nurse who was on the front lines fighting this virus. His selfless act shows us that no matter what faith we believe in, we are all human beings. And the only way to overcome this virus is together as a community. This pandemic is an obstacle that is in humanity's way. Swami Vivekananda, a Hindu monk from India, is best known for his groundbreaking speech at the 1893 World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago, where he introduced Hinduism to America and called for religious tolerance. I'd like to state a line from Swami Vivekananda's speech. Uttistata jagrita prapya varani bodhata. This means arise, awake, and stop not until the goal is reached. Thank you for your time. And joining me today is my younger brother.
Namaste. My name is Krishna Mano, and I am a 6th grader at Knapp Forest Elementary. I will be starting off by reciting a Hindu prayer called a sloka. This sloka was written in an ancient Indian language, Sanskrit, and it incorporates peace and hope for everyone. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashchit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti 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 hai. The meaning of this sloka is for everyone to be happy, to be free from illness, to see what is auspicious, and for all to live without any suffering. The last line of this sloka, Om shanti 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 hai, directly translated to English means share peace and hope around the world. This sloka reminds me that no matter what, I can rely on my culture to get me through tough times. During this pandemic, I have felt more connected to these traditions. I have realized that my hope is not only what keeps me going, but lets the whole community work together. I would like to share something that I heard recently that helped me understand the true meaning of being a community. My classmates' grandparents were stuck at home without much to do. But instead of binge watching TV shows on Netflix, they decided to help the community by sewing masks for healthcare workers. They helped the doctors and nurses, but they also taught the community how to never lose hope. What is reassuring to me the most are the healthcare and essential workers who are risking their lives every day just to keep us safe and healthy. They have proven that if we care for each other, everything will be better. I realize that no matter what faith we follow and what traditions we have always and will always be a community. We are all in this together, and the only way to get through this is to work with one another and never lose hope. Thank you for your time. Next up is Luke Bassett.
Hello, thank you guys all for coming today. And for my portion of this presentation, I wanted to read a passage that is both a summary of the gospel that us as Christians hold so dear, but also hold a little bit of a message of hope for others that are in the world. And this is what it reads. This is in 1 John 4, 13 through 19. This is how we know that we live in him and he in us. He has given us of his Spirit. And we have seen and testified that the Father has sent his Son to be the Savior of the world. If anyone acknowledges that in them and they in God. And so we know and rely on the love God has for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them. This is how love is made complete among us, so that we will have confidence on the day of judgment. In this world, we are like Jesus. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. We love because he first loved us. I don't believe that this is the correct verse that's on screen, so apologies for that. But in this passage that I just read, it notes that there is no fear in love, and that is comforting for during this time period where things are constantly in fear. People are scared of their financial situations. People are scared about how their work is being affected, if their loved ones will be able to live the next day. But if we reside in God, who is love for us, then we can be at peace in our situation. Not only this, but it calls us to love other people, just as God first loved us, to lay down his life for each other. So in this way, we continue to pray for the health of the essential workers that are still out in this dangerous area, and we continue to pray for those whose families have been affected by this. We continue to try to be a loving community who is able to affect and be a positive influence on each other. Now I'd like to transition to Kevin as we transition to a moment of silence.
In the middle of this pandemic that has claimed over 200,000 lives worldwide and over 3,000 here in Michigan, we'll have a quick moment of silence. We know that this disease is not equal and that for many systemic reasons, many of our most vulnerable, our most oppressed, our most systematic folks are at risk than others. I invite you to take a moment to pray, meditate, reflect in your own way and in your own tradition. I hope that you can think about ways that you can engage in a network of support in order to help others out, and that you can contribute as we continue to think what this new normal looks like. Thank you. Next, we'll be hearing from Kim Hillerand.
So the reading I have selected for tonight's gathering is from the seminal work of the Indian scholar Shantideva, who wrote a teaching about 1,300 years ago called The Way of the Bodhisattva. A bodhisattva in the Buddhist tradition is one who tries with their whole heart and with every ounce of their energy to cultivate a mind of enlightened being and doing, but not for their own illumination, not for their own awakening, but for the benefit of all living beings. So there's an element of personal sacrifice on the part of the bodhisattva, working so diligently, not for themselves, but for the benefit of others, and an element of deep dedication to stay the course. In fact, the chapter that I'll read from is called Dedication. This entire teaching by Shantideva is a guide to becoming a bodhisattva and serving others. During this time of COVID-19, when I think of hope, my mind and heart immediately goes to the frontline workers who have been mentioned several times already. Medical and health professionals, grocery store workers, postal employees, those taking care of elderly parents, anyone who is in harm's way working to keep others healthy and safe. So from the lens of my faith tradition, we are surrounded by bodhisattvas to be. The translation of this reading is by Tsem Tolku Rinpoche. You'll hear prayerful words for what we hope to see and experience in the world, with the last 4 lines, the most important lines, a dedication to bringing the hopes of all living beings to fruition through our service to others. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of our good deeds. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down with depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the hopeless find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and the people think of benefiting one another. And the last 4 lines. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And next up is Ben.
Thank you, Kim. My name is Ben Scott Brandt. I use he, him, his pronouns. I worked at Grand Valley up until this past year, and now I'm working with retreat centers across the United States and Canada. They're also going through a great loss, like all of us. And this call is bringing tears to my eyes, as I'm sure it is for many of you. It's beautiful to be together. I would like to read you a poem by Mary Oliver. As a secular person, I often look to poetry, and certainly religious people do too. And I can't say that Mary Oliver is a secular poet. She was raised Roman Catholic, stepped away from the church, but never really described what her stance was on religion. So I took liberty to choose this poem, and I hope that it touches you as it touched me. Similar to Kim's reading, the last couple lines are very important in this poem, and it ends with the word me, and I would like to change that word to us to try to talk about community here. So here's the reading. It didn't behave like anything you had ever imagined. The wind tore at the trees. The rain fell for days, slant and hard, the back of the hand to everything. I watched the trees bow and their leaves fall and crawl back into the earth, as though that was that. This was one hurricane I lived through. The other one was of a different sort and lasted longer. Then I felt my own leaves giving up and falling, the back of the hand to everything. But listen now to what happened to the actual trees. Toward the end of that summer, they pushed new leaves from their stubbed limbs. It was the wrong season, yes, but they couldn't stop. They looked like telephone poles and didn't care. And after the leaves came blossoms. For some things, there are no wrong seasons, which is what I dream of for us. I'd like to pass it now to Mirza. Mirza's reading.
Hi everyone, I'm Mirza, and I'm going to be reading a verse from the Quran, from chapter 3, called Surah Al-Imran, verse 103. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا وَكُنْتُمْ أَحْلَى شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذتكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. And the translation of the verse goes as such: and hold firmly to the rope of Allah altogether, and do not become divided. And remember the favor of Allah upon you, when you were enemies and He brought your hearts together, and you became, by His favor, brothers. And you were on the edge of a pit of the fire, and He saved you from it. Thus does Allah make clear to you His verses that you may be guided. I chose this verse because to me it brings an air of peace, even in these strange, unprecedented times, knowing that like even if there are a plethora of issues in the world and things may seem bleak, that it will be a way out, and that there is solace. And for me, I find solace knowing that Allah to me is there and will help and save the world. It's, in the Islamic tradition, we have Ramadan every year, and right now it is the, I believe, 4th or 5th day. And usually during this time of year, it changes every year. It's a time where we devote ourselves to like Quran, learning more. We're in the masajid more, or the mosques around the world, and we spend night and day praying to God and learning from the Quran and such. And with quarantine and with how the world is right now, it's very different. Everyone's inside and we're all staying at home because of quarantine. And it's a weird, strange feeling being at home and not being able to connect myself. But in a way, like, it's also relieving, because not only have I seen within my community, but I've also seen within a lot of other communities just so much bonding and so much effort from everyone to try to make everyone feel better about the times we're in. And to me, that makes me confident knowing that one day, eventually, things will come back to normal. And that unity that we all have as humans, that to me, I know that eventually things will change for the better. Now, thank you for listening. I have the honor of bringing it to the Vice President for Inclusion and Equity, Jesse Bernal.
Thank you, Mirza. So, and thank you all for joining us tonight. I know that was, this has all been really inspiring, and for me, just what I needed after what's been a long road so far, and with a long road still ahead of us. I want to thank you all for joining us and hearing from our students, faculty, staff, or some of our alum who are joining us tonight, and some of our future Lakers. Vishnu, Krishna, I'm really looking at you. Thank you for your words tonight. And thank you again, Vishnu and Krishna and Bella and Luke, Kim, Ben, Mirza, and Kevin, for your continued support of our students in our community. It's all really, really inspiring and motivating. And it's moments like these that we really, really need during these times. I'd also like to recognize and thank President Mantella, who has joined us this evening. Many of you may see her in the participant list. Thank you for joining us for this reflection and prayer tonight. And thank you also for your leadership and strength during this really challenging time. So typically at community and interfaith gatherings at Grand Valley, we would end a ritual with lighting of candles in hope that our light shines bright in the face of darkness and uncertainty. Many of you have participated in these events and gatherings around the clock tower. So in this virtual setting, I'm going to ask everyone to turn your cameras on. I know Kevin asked you not to do that, but ask everyone to turn your cameras on and switch your view to gallery view. And as you're turning on your cameras, take a look around, wave to each other, smile. As you're waving, look at each face on this call. Find someone that you know, maybe someone you don't know, but if you do know someone, find someone that you know and that maybe you haven't connected with yet. I encourage you to reach out to them. Send them an email right now, send them a text right now. When we're done tonight, give them a call. Let's remind each other that, as President Mantella says often, that together we can reach higher, we will reach higher together, and that we're all in this as a Laker community together. So I want to thank you all for joining us, and thank you again to our speakers and helping us find hope in this really difficult time. Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you to see if you want to close out with any final thoughts, but thank you for your leadership. Thank you again, President Mantella, and everyone for being here this evening.
Thank you all. I know I was really inspired by all the words. Thank you again to our speakers, and thank you all for joining us. Yeah, I hope everybody stays safe, stays healthy, and take care. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.